I'm going to tell you like this. I know Andy Hiraoka lost that fight last night. His first full world title for the WBA Junior Welterweight Championship of the World against Gary Antoine Russell with a record of now 19-1. 17 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Wasn't able to get the knockout like he predicted. It's his third straight decision. His third straight southpaw. In what was a fight that a lot of people coming in this, unless you were a hardcore boxing fan, didn't really know who Andy Hiraoka was. A record of 24 wins, 19 of those wins coming by way of knockout, and now with one loss, was undefeated coming on his way over here with all the odds stacked against him. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Andy Hiraoka. I was in a chat with a couple of guys live on TikTok, about 8 dudes, and a lot of these guys didn't know who Andy Hiraoka was, and I was explaining to them. This is this undefeated Japanese fighter who trains out of the Ohasi gym with the Inoue brothers from Yokohama, Japan, who is highly skilled, actually has some beautiful skills, was coming off the knockout win against Ismail, but also defeated him better than Rolly Romero did, got the knockout win over Gene Sasaki. If you look at the way he fights, is so technically skilled. Southpaw, great pullback counter, great jab, great body shots. And he put that on display yesterday against Gary Antoine Russell. Andy Hiraoka, a guy who showed up 3 days prior to the fight. A fight that was supposed to take place in 2025 on the undercard of Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. That ends up getting canceled. He tries to show up to get prepared for this fight in Las Vegas, Nevada on February 14th, 7 days prior to the February 21st date, yesterday, and is having visa issues. Wasn't able to actually get qualified to come over here until the 18th. Wasn't even able to show up to the press conference, the last one, because he needed to get sleep. It's a 14 to 20 hour flight from Japan to Las Vegas. With all the odds stacked against him, Andy Hiraoka put on a beautiful display of boxing last night. The early rounds, it was kind of hard for him to, kind of get used to Gary Antoine Russell. Gary Antoine Russell was pushing him up against the ropes, doing some good shots. But as the fight went on, Andy Hiraoka started to figure Gary Antoine out. You had Gary Russell and Gary Antoine Russell freaking out in the corner. Andy Hiraoka digging to the body. At one point, it looked like Gary was having enough of it. Andy Hiraoka just gained all the respect in the world from me. And I'm telling you right now, this guy could compete with the best of the best in the junior welterweight division. You're talking about all the bad luck things that happened to him going into this fight. And plus, a guy with 0 amateur experience. Andy Hiraoka just went to decision. And some people were saying he arguably beat Gary Antoine Russell and never had an amateur fight in his career. This guy's elusive. This guy's technically sound. Gary Antoine Russell is the goddamn champion. A lot of people before this was saying that he might give Shakur Stevenson the toughest fight out of anybody in that 140-pound weight class. I don't think so anymore. But I'm going to tell you like this. Andy Hiraoka deserves to be talked about. This guy deserves to get another huge fight. Give him Frank Martin. I don't care. I don't know if fans want to see that matchup. But Frank Martin coming off the draw with NAHIR ALBRIGHT in what was, I thought, should have been a win for Frank Martin. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have to rewatch the fight, but watching it live, I thought Frank Martin was looking nice in the early rounds. I thought once it hit round 5, NAHIR ALBRIGHT started to pick it up. I thought NAHIR won round 5, round 7, round 8, and round 10. Round 10, if this fight would have went to round 11 and round 12, I'm not even playing, bro. NAHIR could have possibly finished this dude. Frank Martin started to get tired, was looking nice in the beginning half of the fight. The second half of the fight was starting to get tired, was starting to get clipped a whole lot. The angles was going down. Anytime that he stood right there in front of NAHIR ALBRIGHT and stopped utilizing his footwork and his angles, he was getting clipped. He was having to resort to just non-stop moving, non-stop using on his angles. Compared to the early half of the fight where he was putting the pressure. Where he was the one putting pressure on Nahir Albright, putting on some nice body work, some nice ducking and dodging, countering left hook from the southpaw position. It was absolutely beautiful. But then, like Nahir Albright always does, makes these fights closer than what they should be. Frank Martin said he was going to KO this dude. And once again, Nahir Albright comes in here, and in my opinion, just crap on what was supposed to be a win for Frank Martin. Coming out the Rancis Barthelemy knockout, knocking him out faster than anybody has ever did, looking the best against Rancis than anybody has ever did, coming out the Gervonta Tank Davis knockout that he suffered. This fight was supposed to elevate him to another level, right? And Nahir Albright, who is a great gatekeeper, once again does what he's supposed to do. And then the fight ends in a draw. Like I said, I gave Frank Martin I gave Nahir Albright round 5, 7, 8, and 10. That's 4 rounds. But I completely understand if you would have gave him any one of the first 4 rounds, round 6, round 9, if you gave him any one of those rounds, the fight is a draw. It was only a 10-rounder. I only gave Nahir Albright 4 rounds. So I ain't mad. I wasn't sitting there thinking, nah, that's a robbery. No. Nahir Albright and Frank Martin deserve what they got. I think Frank Martin should have, when he got tired, you could noticeably start seeing it. This dude was already starting to get gassed out by round 5. It wasn't looking good for Frank Martin. Coming up to the 140-pound weight class where we're talking about it at the weigh-ins, this dude has big arms. He's looking bigger than Nahir, even though Nahir had the taller frame, the bigger back, everything. The muscle-wise, Frank Martin is looking pretty solid. But we all know, we seen with Ismail Davis versus Fawaz in that Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington co-main event. You could have all the muscle in the world, but that lactic acid starts to build up. Lactic acid. It starts to build up. Your arms start to get tired. The next thing you know, you're compromised. And I think that's exactly what happened with Frank Martin. And here, Albright, a tough fighter. Frank Martin really got to go do that road work. Really needs to go start doing that road work because that was against Nahir Albright. Imagine what's going to happen against, even higher level. My goodness, my people. But I would like to see Andy Hiraoka get another great fight in. And I don't think Frank Martin wants anything to do with Andy Hiraoka, but I would love to see that. Let me know what you guys think, though, man. Andy Hiraoka, all the respect in the world. Gary Anton Russell gets the win. I think it was, not the best performance from Gary Anton Russell. I thought he could have looked a lot nicer, but it's tough when you got somebody as nice as somebody like Andy Hiraoka in front of you. So I think a lot of people underestimated Andy Hiraoka and are still looking at Andy Hiraoka like he's not a good fighter and are judging Gary Anton Russell. But I think Andy Hiraoka is just that good, bro. I think anybody has problems like how Gary Anton Russell did against Andy Hiraoka, right? So that being said, I respect them. Absolutely great performance from Andy Hiraoka. Frank Martin and here, Albright. Y'all need to get that going again. Frank Martin needs to get active after this fight again. Don't take another long break because that was not a good look. Let me know what you guys think, though. This is the MMA Boxing Addict channel reporting to you, and I'm out.